Hello and welcome to The Broken Sword. Today we are looking at whether Samwise Gamgee is the true hero of The Lord of the Rings.
Build me an army worthy of Mordor.
First of all, happy Tolkien Reading Day. For those of you who are unaware, Tolkien Reading Day is an event put on by the Tolkien Society every single year on March 25th to encourage fans to celebrate and promote the life and works of J.R.R. Tolkien by reading favourite passages. And to go with this, each year has a theme, with this year's being love and friendship. So, the ever-growing group of Tolkien YouTubers has created and released a playlist of videos for you all to enjoy under this theme. I will link the playlist in the description and comment section below, so please go and check everyone else's out after finishing this video. Now, let us get into our entry with a look at the most loving and best friend of all the hobbits, Mr. Samwise Gamgee. Samwise Gamgee is the best friend everybody wishes they had. Despite being no more than a humble gardener at the beginning of The Lord of the Rings, he goes on to stand by Frodo's side every step of his journey into Mordor, even saving him from the likes of the giant spider Shelob. He is never wavering in commitment to their quest, even if the entire thing is far beyond much of his understanding at the set-off. Sam is even that character Tolkien most identifies with himself, and even claimed that Sam was the chief hero of his story. So, despite not being the heir to the throne or the main ring bearer, why does Tolkien claim this? Well, firstly, if we look at storytelling, just general literature, basically writing a story 101, we must remember that a great message that can be told is what can be found within a character at their core, not just by the quest that they are thrown into. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings is a story that follows several different plot threads, which can be a factor as to why some people maybe find it harder to understand who the real true hero of the tale is. But if we look at the Fellowship itself, it is made up of characters to represent each race. So each of these, in theory, could be seen as the hero of their respective races. However, still, it is one of the four hobbits from the Fellowship, the unexpected hobbit, the gardener, the sidekick, the stupid, fat hobbit, Samwise Gamgee, who is the one that appears to come out as the true hero by the end of all things. A hero is supposed to be somebody who achieves greatness, overcomes odds, and has positive qualities. Although quite often considered a larger-than-life type character, this is certainly not essential. A hero needs to keep moving forward to rise to the occasion, but still possess a degree of humility. They will keep putting one foot in front of the other to keep the story progressing, and the likability of the hero, those positive qualities, well, these tend to just come hand in hand with this kind of character. If we were to consider some of his rivals for the title of true hero, you would have to look at the other members of the Fellowship. If we look at the heir of Elendil, Aragorn, he is painted as an epic hero type, like Boromir as well. However, admittedly this is altered slightly for the movie adaptations. Anyway, Aragorn becomes more a reluctant hero, and Boromir becomes more susceptible to his greed, which is really a mark against those two. Then if we consider the excellent friendship pair of Legolas and Gimli, they too fall into a similar bracket to one another, being seen more like followers than the actual heroes. Then of course, we have our four hobbits, who collectively could be seen as quest heroes. This is due to the hobbits most likely being the most ordinary, the most identifiable members of the Fellowship to the reader. After all, their race appears to live separate lives from the others in that world, and in general, they must overcome the biggest hurdles to reach those same points. Again, this brings them back to the idea of the beings who must rise the highest to match those same occasions, yet still while being the most down-to-earth of the peoples. These hobbits live in the Shire, and the Shire is almost a secret to the rest of Middle-earth. They appear to be tucked away, unknown to others, and quite happy to keep it that way. This also means that just like the others know little of them, they know little of all the others, bringing forward that idea of them being characters you could most identify with as the reader.
If I take one more step, it'll be the farthest away from home I've ever been.
But that is not to say when these hobbits take that one more step, they become scared and crumble. No, they appear to almost be embracing to the unknown, rise to the occasion, and adapt quickly to the change of circumstances. Even before The Lord of the Rings, we can see how Bilbo Baggins takes a similar self-developing journey as a part of Thorin's company in The Hobbit. But back to our hobbits from the Fellowship. We have Frodo Baggins, Samwise Gamgee, Meriadoc Brandybuck, and Peregrine Took. Each has their moment to step up. Sam takes the ring when he believes Shelob has killed Frodo, but then rescues him from Cirith Ungol when he realises that he is in fact still alive, despite there being potentially an army of Uruks and Orcs between him and Frodo. Merry becomes an esquire of Rohan and played an essential role in the slaying of the Witch King. Pippin becomes a guard of the Citadel at Minas Tirith, and is key to saving the life of Faramir when Denethor goes insane. But despite these, you would not be judged for believing from the get-go that Frodo Baggins, being the ring-bearer, should undoubtedly be the actual hero. After all, he is the one who personally takes on the quest and carries the ring himself. Despite this, there is a big argument against Frodo being the true hero though, and of all the people that comes from, none other than J.R.R. Tolkien himself is one, as he calls Frodo a failed hero. He could not fully endure the power and the pull of the One Ring to the very end. He gave into the temptation, and it is only thanks to a bit of luck, but mainly the intervention of Eru Ilúvatar, that he ultimately completes his quest. So at the end, who ultimately becomes the hero? Look no further than Samwise the Brave. He is the one that is the most consistent in his heroism. He takes on the most significant transformation as a character between that time that we hear about a long-expected party up until the farewells at the Grey Havens. He begins his journey as a simple gardener who does little more than dream of seeing the likes of elves and other grand things in the world, eventually becoming a great leader, yet is still the same kind-hearted person at his core. So if we step back and think about his character, he is likely to be the closest to what you, the reader, are like. He is the most relatable, especially after reading these stories. I mean, who does not dream of being taken away by Gandalf on some grand adventure in a magical world? So to go from no more than these thoughts to experiencing everything he does by the time they return home to the Shire and even take down Saruman, he becomes a legend in his own right.
Samwise the Brave.
Samwise transforms from the quiet, gentle, and submissive companion to a brave and mighty hero. We get to see his bravery and courage grow. No matter the odds, Sam rises to the occasion. He also remains an ever-optimist, being a bright spark for the Fellowship and later just Frodo as things become ever more challenging. Does Frodo need to leave the Fellowship? He won't let him go alone. Do they run out of supplies? Well, that doesn't change their quest. Does he have to say goodbye to Bill the pony? Well, it is for the best. Now, if we take a moment here, it is worth the time to take a look at this great little passage between Frodo and Sam from the chapter A Shortcut to Mushrooms. This takes place just after Frodo asks Sam if he still means to take on the journey with him, as it will be hazardous, with Sam explaining about the conversation that he had had with the elves the night before, and it says, Frodo looked at Sam rather startled, half expecting to see some outward sign of the odd change that seemed to have come over him. It did not sound like the voice of the old Sam Gamgee that he thought he knew, but it looked like the old Sam Gamgee sitting there, except that his face was unusually thoughtful. Do you feel any need to leave the Shire now? Now that your wish to see them has come true already? He asked. Yes, sir. I don't know how to say it, but after last night I feel different. I seem to see ahead in a kind of way. I know we are going to take a very long road into darkness, but I know I can't turn back. It isn't to see elves now, nor dragons, nor mountains that I want. I don't rightly know what I want, but I have something to do before the end, and it lies ahead, not in the Shire. I must see it through, sir, if you understand me. I don't altogether, but I understand that Gandalf chose me a good companion. I am content. We will go together. This shows that Sam is no fool. He may at times appear a little simple in nature, but he is more aware of the actual stakes than maybe most realizes that he, however small it may be, can have some effect on the outcome of it all. And this all stems from his complete and utter dedication to Frodo and his quest. This tremendous courage that he possesses. No matter what was to come, what challenges they faced, how many times they were knocked down, Sam would not just pick himself up, but Frodo as well, and keep them both moving forwards. Suppose now we look at a few of his actions throughout the story. When the Watcher in the water takes hold of Frodo, he is the first to act to save him before the others can even register what is happening. He takes on the burden of the One Ring without question when he believes Frodo to have been killed by Shelob. And not just this, but also then saves Frodo from captivity and certain torture when he realizes that he has just been paralysed, not killed. And even adding to this, after saving Frodo, he voluntarily gives back the ring to him, becoming only the second being ever to give it up of their own accord. The other one being Bilbo when leaving it to Frodo, but even Bilbo struggled to part ways with it where Sam did not. Then yet again, as they reach the final stretch when Frodo cannot even stand, Sam carries him up the slopes of Mount Doom as well.
I can't carry it for you, but I can carry you! Come on!
So, no matter what, he resisted even after holding the One Ring and dealing with the unnatural temptation that it gives off, of which many great people before him had succumbed to. Although, I will admit here, he did have the ring for a far shorter amount of time than Bilbo or Frodo or Gollum, but that does not necessarily take away from this achievement. You must remember, a great man such as that of Boromir became corrupted after only being near to the One Ring for not that long of a time, so to bear that burden himself, even if it was just for that short time, was an impressive achievement. So where do I even start with summing this all up? One of the most significant factors is having the author of it all, Tolkien, believing this himself. He even explains in one of his letters how a large part of the inspiration for Sam came from his experiences in World War I, how he witnessed soldiers who went above and beyond to support and aid others. So, although not directly firing the shots or making the moves, they were the men, whether from a simple or well-off background, who were those that were far superior. Sam is always that flicker of light when the darkness grows, and even how so much of his drive comes from his simple love of Rosie Cotton back at home, and how he wants to succeed and return to be with her and have a life together when it's all over. An essential part of the character that makes him even more relatable to the reader. Something about Sam makes people think, if I was in that position, if I was in his shoes, I could achieve what he does if it all fell at my feet. You do not need to be the heir to a kingdom like Aragorn, or thousands of years old like Legolas, or a Maya in disguise like Gandalf to be able to stand up to evil and take it head on. At the end of all of this, Sam is not the only hero from this epic adventure, but he is the most relatable example, and the type of hero that all people have the potential of and truly wish on becoming. As Tolkien said, Sam is the most selfless, and this is what makes him great. Even the last line of the story is back in the Shire with Sam, not with Frodo when he leaves the Grey Havens. It ends with, "But Sam turned to Bywater, and so came back up the hill as day was ending once more. And he went on, and there was yellow light and fire within, and the evening meal was ready, and he was expected. And Rosie drew him in, and set him in his chair, and put little Eleanor upon his lap. He drew a deep breath. 'Well, I'm back,' he said." Our last moment being with the gardener is a good hint at our true hero. His character has grown dramatically, and it all came from the choice to help Frodo, his friend, not because he had been promised some great power as a reward when it was all over. And to round things up, I want to step away from the book for just a moment so that we can take a look at the Peter Jackson adaptations, with the iconic speech that Sam delivers, as this was something that was added solely for the movies. Still though, I believe this does such a great job at telling you about the kind of character Sam really is, and really just being an iconic speech. Sadly though, because of copyright, I will have to read it instead of showing the entire clip, so instead of Sean Astin's fantastic performance, you're stuck with me.
I know. It's all wrong. By rights,
We shouldn't even be here, but we are. It's like the great stories, Mr. Frodo, the ones that really mattered. Full of darkness and danger they were, and sometimes you didn't want to know the end. Because how could the end be happy? How could the world go back to the way it was when so much bad had happened? But in the end, it's only a passing thing, this shadow. Even darkness must pass. A new day will come, and when the sun shines, it will shine out the clearer. Those were the stories that stayed with you, that meant something, even if you were too small to understand why. But I think, Mr. Frodo, I do understand. I know now. Folk in those stories had lots of chances of turning back, only they didn't. They kept going, because they were holding on to something. That there's some good in this world, Mr. Frodo.
And it's worth fighting for.
So there we have it, a look into why Samwise Gamgee is the true hero of The Lord of the Rings. He is generally one of my favourite characters, and after doing more research for this video, I would say I have a better understanding as to just why, so I hope you all enjoyed it too. And a reminder at the end here to check out those links for all the other Tolkien Day reading videos. I know everyone will have done an amazing job, so please take the time to check them out. It's always fun to have a collaboration, even if it is just a playlist this time. So I hope you all did enjoy this video for today, but now it is time for my question for you all today, which is, do you agree that Samwise Gamgee is the true hero of The Lord of the Rings? Do you think perhaps he is in fact overhyped a bit, or that no, he is 100% the true hero? Or anything else at all, of course. Please let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Now firstly, to quickly mention our other channels that will all be linked in the description below too, so please check them out, and to shout out our patrons, with firstly our Divine Power tier members of Kevin, Abram and Matt, you are all awesome, and a big thanks to our Fire Demon tier members of Nashith, Denver Steel and Gregory, and I cannot forget at all the Wizard Staff tier members of John, Andrew, Bill, Evil Chameleon, Jennifer and Finrod Felagund as well. Every single one of you is a true legend of the Brohirrim. Finally, if you have managed to reach the very end of this video with me today and you have enjoyed what you've seen, then please hit that subscribe button and bell icon too so that you can be notified of all of our uploads in the future. So thank you if you have managed to reach the very end of this video with me today, and I will see you next time on The Broken Sword.